Are you a voting member of the NRA? My name is Lucretia Hughes NRA. I will never compromise my beliefs in God, family, our country, and my Second Amendment. I am running for the board of directors of the NRA, and I would appreciate your vote. You get a bomb, you get a bomb, you get a bomb, all y'all bombs away, okay? So welcome back to The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave, and I'm going to keep saying it all flipping a week. Do not forget this Saturday, our 14th rally, Faith Over Fear, celebrating veterans and first responders. And we have the guitar, the guitar. We got the guitar up for auction. So the tickets are $25. There are over 20 signatures. This is a nice guitar too. So your $25 a ticket is going towards the rally, and Walton County proceeds to the Leos and first responders. So that's what we're gonna do. So when you see it out there, please help share. And if you're coming this way, I cannot wait. Get here Friday. We might need some help. I'm just kidding. So everybody, welcome back. Don't forget to get over to the fallbackusa2.myshopify.com, because we the people are pissed at the stuff that they're doing to us. And when it comes to the deep state, nationally, the globalists, the stock markets, y'all go get y'all shirt. Or for us that have been telling and talking about this for 1,729 shows, we the people told you so. So don't ask us nothing now. You should have been paying attention a long time ago. Okay, back. Our next guest, everybody. I guess he fed up. Why he fed up? He jumping with the big boys. He said, I'm going to congressional. I mean, he wants to go take on the swamp. Well, Dave, bring Ron on, because I think he the fella to actually do it. Hey, Ron.
Hello. Hello, Ron Eller. How are you doing today?
How you doing? What made you want to go up to Washington? You know, that's the Viper snakehead, right?
Yes, ma'am. I understand that. But, when you're going to war, you need to lead from the front and attack. I'm a retired military officer, and I took an oath back in the late 70s to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That oath had no expiration on it, and I'm living by that. But there were several things that happened, particularly here in Mississippi, that pushed me off the edge and said, Ron, I could retire. I have a small business. I work as a PA in cardiac surgery, things like that. I'm retired from the military. But I said, I can't just sit back, because this affects my grandchildren, this affects my nation, and I have to support and defend that Constitution. There was a little girl in Mississippi in Simpson County named Lydia Booth a few years back, and it was during COVID, and she had a mask on that read, "Jesus loves me." They threw her out of school for that. They said that was disruptive speech, but they were allowing kids with other statements and logos and things. And I saw that news story, and I said, that's a violation of the First Amendment.
Sure is.
And it also violates Mississippi state law, because under the Mississippi State Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 3, Section 18 reads, "The Holy Bible is part of the school system and shall not be removed." Well, I actually have a bill that's been at the State House, HB 1250, to put the Bible back in every classroom. Because I would tell you, we did three things that harmed this country. The first thing is we took God out of the town squares and out of the schools. Second thing we did is we took fathers out of the homes. And the third thing is we made young people not responsible for themselves. Well, if you change those three things, you'll change the direction of this country. Then another thing happened. President Trump was in office during his second impeachment. After he was acquitted, Benny Thompson, my congressman, comes out on national news and he says, "I'm suing President Trump." And I saw that news story and I said, it makes us in this state look stupid, and that's a waste of taxpayer money. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Wow.
Well, I went to work that week, and I went in regular clothes, jacket and tie. My boss looked at me and says, "Ron, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm thinking about my next job." He says, "Why?" I said, "Because you're getting ready to retire," and we talked about that. And he laughed at me when I told him what I was going to do. The following day, my wife and I, we went to Sam's Club. It's a Saturday. It's storming. And I get out of the vehicle, popped an umbrella. I look down. We're parked way out in the parking lot, and there was this bright, shiny metal disc laying on the ground. And I bent down and I picked it up. Well, it was my Jonah and the whale moment, because when I turned it over, even I could read this sign. I'll get it a little bit closer.
Oh, okay,
it says
then.
United States Congress.
Who dropped
Well,
that pen?
Well, that's a great question. I talked to Michael Guest, the third congressional district congressman, because that could have been somebody from his office or himself. He said no. He says that's Benny or somebody from his office. And the likelihood of me finding that in a Sam's Club parking lot in Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, heck, I
Okay,
should have won the Powerball and the Mega Million that week, and I didn't win either one.
are you a
So,
drill sergeant? I'm trying to figure out. You got this authoritative. Every time you say a word, I just see my daddy popping in my forehead. What was your rank? Because I'm trying to see. I'm trying to find your rank.
well, that's kind of confusing. In my 20 years, 4 months on active duty, I went from E1 to E7. Then I was a warrant officer, and I retired as a captain. So I got promoted 12 times. I can holler and scream with the best of them.
You don't have
I,
to. Your voice alone holds authority.
well, I've been told by many people, you know, they might not remember my face, but they remember my voice.
I don't know why I want to salute, but I do.
That's okay. I'll do it for you. Hoorah.
So
And
with
I was actually Army, but I spent a
yep.
little time around the Marine Corps, around the
Whoa,
Air
whoa, whoa,
Force, around the
whoa.
Navy.
Wait a minute. You said let me go pick at all the branches.
Well, it's that attached and reassigned as needed. And in fact, my last duty station was out of Oahu, so Hawaii. I worked at Tripler and at a little bit at Schofield. I was stationed at Schofield previously. Was living up Fort Shafter. Did some things around Pearl Harbor. The folks at the Navy liked me so much and things that I actually had the flag that was flown over the Arizona on its 50th anniversary. And when an Army guy ends up with something like that, I had been doing something right.
But you have a heart of gold. You're pediatric. You
Well,
deal
no,
with them.
I work as a PA in cardiac surgery.
Oh, okay. Cause
PA is a physician
I
assistant. My wife says
physician
it stands
assistant.
for pain somewhere. I'm not really sure what she means by that.
Well, you still got a heart. You literally. Wow. You know how you are golden. I mean, when I say you're golden, you're past where you are literally that oath, the walking manifestation of what it means to be an American. Pure point blank. That's the
Yeah.
military. That's you working yourself from the bootstraps. You're a small business owner. So when you get up to Washington D.C., you're not going to be bamboozled because you've worked these positions and you know what is needed. When the majority of them has never held a job a day in their life, so that gives you an upper
Well,
hand. So in majority of all of them, Chuck Schumer, all the rest of them that's always been a public servant and been on the tit of the government giving you orders. And now you're going up there to give them their walking orders.
Benny Thompson is a great example of that. The only job he's ever had has been that of a politician, really. He's now been in office as a congressman 32 years. I also happen to be the chairman for Mississippi for term limits. And, and I talk about that. And I also talk a lot about the Bible.
Amen.
Psalms 109:8, may his days be few, may another take his position of leadership. But when I think about term limits, not only do we need to think, okay, how long these people can be in office, but we need to probably add to that legislation some verbiage that deals with them going to work as a lobbyist or with a lobbyist firm. They
Yes.
need to have a probationary period where, hey, you can't go do this for a period of time. And the same would hold true for bureaucrats that we have up there. And we need to start talking about term limits on these bureaucrats because that's what really feeds the machine. You change politicians occasionally, but those bureaucrats are there forever. And really, everybody tells you, oh, we already have term limits. It's called elections. Well, 90+% of people who are in office, incumbents, are reelected.
Yep.
So elections are not term limits, folks. We need to get term limits passed. You need to look at, like the Convention of States, Article 5. These things are going to happen. It's just a matter of when. It was February 27th, 1951, when we got term limits on the president. And that wasn't because they were chomping at the bit to do this. It was because they knew they were going to be forced to do it. So they went ahead and made it happen. And well, we need to give them that same feeling. This is going to happen. We got to deal with it and get in front of it,
What do
or it's
you
going to eat
feel?
us alive.
What do you feel about doing cognitive tests every time they take an oath of office? As let's just say Feinstein, she stayed up there till she died. There was a it was same with the Republican. There was a Republican. I don't know if she was a
Mr. McConnell,
You said Mitch
I mean, we've
McConnell.
seen him have a
Yes.
stroke on screen.
You think that's what that was when he was stood there and just frozen, and that woman came up there and kind of nudged him? If you think that
Yeah.
was what he was having at that
Well,
time?
it was probably at least what we'll call a TIA, a transit ischemic attack, what the lay person would call a mini stroke. But there's something definitely
There's
going on
something going
there.
on. I feel
And
that.
and people won't like this, but you probably at a state level, we probably need to have something like that with driver's test. Probably every few years, like every 5 years, you'd have to retake a road test. But nobody wants to hear that. But let's face it, you and I drive out there on the roads, you see what I see.
Now at Mississippi, do y'all have an illegal alien problem also in on the government tit at all? When I say any
Yes,
benefits, are
ma'am.
y'all having problems with
And in
that?
fact, Benny Thompson tried to move 2,000 illegals into Tunica County to an old casino that's there. And the county supervisors there and some of the state legislatures got that blocked. Uh, and I know that I see buses coming through here
Yep.
and dropping people off. And it's like, this is not right. It's not a border problem, it's a national problem.
And then here's a big one that's really been in the news. These Muslim communities, when I say communities, I mean 400 acres, 1,000 acres, where they literally build their own town and have Sharia law. Recently, within maybe this session, about 4 or 5 states has outlawed Sharia law. What about Mississippi? Could you do that over there?
I think it could be done here. I don't believe we have any legislation like that pending. I've never been in office. I'm not in office, but I pay attention, and I don't believe anything like that exists right now in legislation. And there's a lot of different laws that really need to be looked at. You cannot, if I were, in charge, you could not set up your own Sharia law here. We have Mississippi state law in the case of Mississippi or Texas, wherever you have national law, and that's what needs to be done. And oftentimes we see this problem with cities. That's why you have all these cities that have quote sanctuary cities and states and counties. Uh, that's a problem. If we have these places, then we need to say, okay, you want to do that, fine. You don't get any federal aid.
Now, when it comes, because Mississippi is what some people would consider a poor state, which I don't think it is, but per capita, what would you want to see for the second district down there with you that you want to see a big change? What are some of the things that you would like to present or co-sponsor as you get to Washington, D.C.?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, Mississippi technically is the poorest state in the nation. There are four congressional districts. The first, the third, and the fourth, if you only looked at those three districts, then we would probably be about in the middle of the national average. But the second congressional district consists of 30 counties, 16 of which are in the top 100 poorest counties in the nation, five in the top 10. It pulls down the entire state. There was a project that's been on the books for since 1940s, and it was due to go online a couple of years ago. Benny Thompson got it shut down. It's called the Yazoo Backwater Project, or what we locally call the Yazoo Pump Project. Is what that did, or would have done, is there's a series of pumps and levees that have been built. The pumps have not been installed. The levees are there, and is what it would have done is stop flooding of the second congressional district. When you look at Mississippi, the number one economic driver is agriculture. It brings in over $8 billion a year. And with the flooding that occurs in the second congressional district annually, the number one product out of the second congressional district happens to be, agriculture. We lose growing season. If we could stop that flooding, then we could potentially grow a third crop, and that would be an economic boom for the second congressional district, as well as the state and the nation. If you think about this, if you let any single population go hungry for 3 days, there will be riots in the street that would
Yep.
make the summer of peace and love look like, a spring fling down at Daytona or something. It would be terrible. It's a national security issue. We need those pumps built, and that would allow other businesses to move into the second congressional district. Mississippi took a big step this year to incentivize people to move here. We are now a income tax free state.
Yeah, I
And
know, y'all. Yeah, I'm jealous. Call Brian Kemp. Well, please and tell Brian Kemp, our governor, look over here at us, and won't you mimic
yeah,
us, and maybe your people will stop not liking you.
if you have his number, I'll be happy to get it from you off the air and give him a call.
Now, when it comes to that, because we know you are an American first, and with the agriculture being 8 billion, I didn't even know that $8 billion, and the levies and the levies and everything else that is for that, so there won't be a lot of flooding because you're down there. If it's a national security issue, shouldn't that have been handled already, not only at the federal level, but that at the state level too?
It should have, but it's just one of those things. They needed the federal dollars. It's all been built. The levees are there. Now we just need the pumps installed and up and running. And the EPA has come back now that Trump has been reinstated as our president. They're looking at these things, but we need people to work together. We need to stop fighting each other on this. It is for the good of the nation. It's for the good of the people in the second congressional district. I live here. I know these things. I don't know. Benny technically lives about 12 miles from me, but I don't ever see him here.
So, how? Because you know the environmentalists, the tree huggers, they're going to come in a
Mm-hmm.
vengeance if you decide to do that. Do you know any way to combat that? Because your state really needs that to be able to lift itself off the bottom and at least, like you said, be in the middle average of the states in America.
Well, if you look up and down the Mississippi River, there are levees and pump systems like this throughout the Mississippi River Basin, and it has not been an issue elsewhere. It's not going to be an issue here. They're not going to completely drain the backwaters. That's just not going to happen. You'll still have a place for ducks. You're still going to have deer and bear and hogs and all those other kind of wild animals running around. But actually, a couple of years ago, we had some major flooding that killed a lot of those animals because they had nowhere to get to.
Yeah.
And it is an ecological disaster when these things happen.
Now with
And not only that, but people are losing their homes, they're losing their jobs. This is a problem.
education, edu, uh, not alone. Like I said, I'm not beating up on Mississippi, okay? But y'all are at the bottom of when it comes to education. Well, education kind of sucks across
Actually,
the
we're not.
what? What
Our
is that?
scores are
Tennessee?
way up there. We are no longer in the bottom. And in fact, if I get in office, one of those things that I'm going to push at the state level, even though I'm running for a federal job, is to have a debt forgiveness program. If you
Yes.
go to a Mississippi school, a state school, and you get a certificate or a degree, and you stay here and you work here, then we will, pay off your student loan over time. Now, that student loan will be for your tuition. It's not for you to go out and buy a brand new car or, you know, a home or things like that. People do those things with student loans. I see people that do that stuff. And no, we're not going to repay that. We'll repay your education debt.
I see what
And
you're trying to do there. You're trying to bring generations for because once they actually stay in Mississippi after going to school and paying off their student loan, they're already making having roots and planting roots in Mississippi, which means their offsprings are going to be planting roots in Mississippi also.
exactly, you, you,
Hmm.
we lose children all the time from Mississippi. They become doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, welders, whatever. And what do? They move off. Why? Because, jobs. And, we need to return jobs back to Mississippi. We need to return jobs back to America. I know people are upset with the stock market right now. I would tell you, don't worry about the stock
No.
market. I would tell you right now, things are on sale. If you have money, buy stock. In the military, they used to teach what we call dollar cost averaging. Every month, a certain percentage of my paycheck went into my 401k or IRA that I had purchased while I was in the military, and I didn't pay attention to what happened to the stock market. If it went up, oh well, I bought less stock that month. If it went down, I got more shares, and that's the way we need to look at this business with the tariffs. But I do believe that President Trump is right that it will eventually cause manufacturing to move back to the United States.
I think
We
it will
also need to
too.
look at things like the EPA. You know, I can remember when I could buy a real light bulb, an incandescent light bulb. My light bulbs now are fluorescent or LED. They
Mm-hmm.
don't last any longer. They cost twice as much, and they're all manufactured overseas. You know, when we had incandescent light bulbs, they were manufactured here in America. We drive businesses overseas.
and
That's
and
bad
and
policy.
that was NAFTA. Do you think, as being a congressman, and when you get up there, that you can repeal NAFTA, the trade agreement that came out in like the 90s, when our that's when it really started messing up the United States, and that is when we wasn't predominantly USA made in America, and we started losing a lot of our jobs. Do you think, is that one of the things that you can actually look at, is repealing of the that trade agreement, because it's horrible?
I believe it does need to be looked at, and I believe that most likely that'll be done within the next couple of years. If recollection serves me right, a lot of that occurred under the Clinton administration.
Oh, we are the world. I call that the real we are the world era, because that's when we
Mhm.
started feeding everybody else but ourselves. When you come to energy, because I looked at your website and I was like, oh, he got the triple E's. Okay, then
Yeah,
he want to do the triple E's.
that's
Energy.
correct.
Are you
And
talking
energy
about?
is the lifeblood of the American economy. You need all forms of energy, and I don't care what kind of energy you're talking about, whether it's petroleum, clean coal, natural gas, wind, solar, hydrogen, uh, hydroelectric, nuclear. We need all forms of energy, and I wouldn't be out here supplementing the development of solar plants or windmills. Private industry, when it gets cheap enough, they'll do it. We don't need to be paying for that. We, the taxpayers, those companies that are selling us that electric, they need to be doing that for themselves.
You're gonna have your hands full. You're gonna make a lot of enemies.
Yes, ma'am. I know. Let's face it. Being the chairman for term limits, there's not a career politician out there that's like, yeah, that Ron Eller, he's my guy.
I think you and Ted Cruz got something in common. I think y'all, you could sponsor, he could co-sponsor, because Ted Cruz, it seemed like every session he'd be like, "Hey, term limits." They're not going to vote off their own paychecks. And they might if, these investigations don't go as the way they want to. And a lot more people have been caught in fraud or kickbacks or anything like that. When you, when you get up there, can you possibly actually, when you're doing the term limits, if can you sponsor a bill that says if you're found in any type of way of receiving kickbacks or any kind of bribery, and I know it's supposed to be law now, but we know nothing ever happens, that it will
Yeah,
not be an allegedly, you will immediately be stepped down from your seat.
that this seems like a very reasonable thing. Not only that, but if you're caught of, we'll say, high crimes and stuff, you shouldn't get any of your benefits either going out the door.
Look, my husband over there nodding. Now, this is where it kind of gets to me, because we got a lot of insider trading that goes on up in there. And I'm sure it's at
Hmm.
the state level and it's at the federal level. And we're finding out it's on both sides of the aisle. And it truly is.
It
How
is.
can you make a dent in that, and help secure our future? And because you're going to be speaking at the United States level, so you're going to be affecting, over here in Georgia also. How can you establish yourself and to keep that? Keep the Constitution, our way of life intact, and even if we have to pass a law in order for it to do it, how do you think that you can get more Republicans and even on your side for that?
You know, it is insider trading is going to be a problem. Uh, it always has been. I look at what they did to Martha Stewart. And they prosecuted her to the fullest. But these congressmen, these senators, these governors, and uh, people up and down the food chain, if they don't buy the stock themselves, you call your cousin who happens to be a financial investor and, hey, buy this and remember me. I think it's a kind of a Tony Soprano thing. I get a taste.
You're going to be spotting a lot of sin when you get up there. When I say a lot of evilness, Oh my! I think you're the man to do it. I really do. The guy that you're running against, is he the one that got 38 years of just sitting up there doing nothing?
32, but yeah, before
Ooh.
that, he was like a Hinds County supervisor. That's the county we live in. He was the mayor of the little town that he lived in. He is a career, lifelong politician. He was also a on the executive committee for the Communist Party, which to me that ought to be a red flag. You can't be in the U.S. Congress if you've been part of the Communist Party. He had ties that are kind of hard to prove or disprove to a group called the Republic of New Africa. And that group
Ooh.
actually looked to have a true insurrection. They wanted to take South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana and break them off from the United States to make it its own independent communist nation. There's a similar movement like that happening still in this area under what's called the Republic of Jackson. I believe it's the website is jackson.gov, something like that, or jacksonmississippi.gov. But it talks about how everybody will get so much money in reparations, they'll get a free house and free utilities, and it's pure communism.
Ooh. And I thought they
And,
supposed to
and
hate
there's people that
communists.
buy into that kind of stuff, and it's like there's nothing in this world that's free.
Those are the lazy ones. If they
Yeah.
thought that was going to happen, it would have happened anyway. So my husband just said, "Hold on, excuse me. We got 2 minutes left. I'm gonna go ahead and let you close off this segment. Thank you, Mr. Eller. I mean, triple E's up in the house. Oh, is it quad E's? Because you are
Yeah, got
standing.
got the big E back there.
Even Dave was
Well,
impressed with your background. He said, "You got to look at his background. I like it. You look
yes, ma'am.
so, I was gonna say presidential, but you look so congressional."
Well, if President Trump hadn't picked J.D. Vance, I figure I could have been the guy there. But that's another story. And
uh,
J.D. I'm sure is going to do a fantastic job.
well, you do know
But
how Trump works. Your race is next year, right?
it will be in 2026 November.
Just like Georgia. So that means he's gonna be in all of these races. President Trump, his administration, his endorsements, everything. So
Well,
I get some.
I need his endorsement now because I need to raise money. I ran last time, and I raised $60,000. The bean counters tell me, and I spent $160,000. Please don't ever tell my wife that.
Are you the only
you know
Republican right now that's in the race?
that I can definitely say. I'm sure there'll be others. Uh,
Um,
and last time there were others, and it was one of those funny things. I was the only one that actually lived in the district, and it's like, and I have to spend money to fight this, and you
well,
know,
Trump, I can tell you now, President Trump, you're a veteran, you're American first, your military, your past is very decorated. So when he start, endorsing people, which I would say will be in the next quarter, next 3 months, if not already, your name need to be out there on that list, and we need to push you out there a little bit further so that people on the Trump administration, especially at the state level, can start looking at you to get you up there to the national level. Or I want you to go to Mar-a-Lago. Just beat a dead horse and go to a soiree and
yeah.
and get to start talking to these people. And I think you got it. I truly have. You heard your voice? I think you can catch Trump attention across the room if necessary.
Well, I have actually met him once a couple of years ago, and I can say that people up and down the state here know me. Whether we're talking about our present governor, a couple past governors have endorsed me, but it's I'm in the poorest district in the nation, and it's a hard thing to come up with money when you in a district that is the poorest in the nation. And like I tell people, this is not about Republican versus Democrat, red versus blue. It's not white versus black. We're all Americans, and we need to be united for that common good. It talks about that in the Bible, Acts 17:26. From one man, he built all nations. Well, we must be united for that common good because we all agree on probably 70 to 80% of things. We all want clean air and water. We all want good schools and education for our children. We all want a safe place to live. We all want a good paying job, and we all want lower taxes. Since we agree on all these things, it's time that we are united for the common good, for America, and for the Mississippi 2nd Congressional District. I'm Ron Eller. I'm a proud constitutional conservative, and I'm running for Congress. Go to voteroneller.com or helpron.com, and you can learn more about me. Hoorah. And my phone number is easy. It's 888-355-3722. That's 888 Eller 22, because in 22 I started the mission to take back America.
Dave, the last minute and a half, cut that off. You go give him the whole video. Cut that off. Make him a campaign video. You just did your own commercial. Dave, cut that last part when he was telling us about who he is and what he's planning. Put some dramatic music behind it. I don't care if it's from the Bayou. Get him some music. He can have his. We about to make you a promo video, sir. And Mr.
Okay.
So everybody, this is Ron Eller. He is running for a 2nd District Congressional seat for the United States of Mississippi. Of Mississippi.
Yes, right.
So y'all make sure y'all go over there and support him, sir. We're going to have you back on the show, and I thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Absolutely. Everybody, y'all stay tuned. We got one more. We'll be right back. Go ahead, Dave. Welcome back. Extended version. But tomorrow is going to be a half a show because we have our monthly meeting and we're going to take flyers. So tomorrow we're going to a lot of gun stores, different things. We're going to the American Legion on 78. A couple of people are already done talked to a lot of fire departments in Gwinnett County. We've talked to Walton County dispatch head person. We done sent her all that stuff. She's already flooded it out there for us in the police department in Walton County. So we have that. We have the porta potty. We'll have over 100 cupcakes. Now, y'all get over there and donate. And do not forget, Dave, you got the guitar again? Like I said, guitar. So the guitar, is it the guitar or the guitar? The guitar, that sound country. It can't be that. Is it guitar?